Hello again, everyone. It's story time again with Hadasha the Shulamite. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have a comment, I would love to hear from you. Also, remember to hit the notification bell ding so you can know whenever I upload. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I did. I had a good time with my children and my grandchildren and some friends. Ate too much as usual, but here we are. Thank God we are here again. Now today I'm going to continue the story that I started last upload. It was about Samson, this strong brother that is very familiar to most of us who are Bible people. You know, we've read the story, we've heard it as children, but it never gets old. You know, these stories are just, they're classics. So anyway, Samson had gone into the village, city, whatever, and he seen this harlot, and he decided, well, I'm gonna have me a good time with this woman. And so he went into, I guess, her home or whatever, but somebody had seen him. The Philistines, you know, they were enemies, the Philistines and the Israelites. And for Samson, he was a judge in Israel for 20 years, you know, at the time of his death. So they had seen him and they said, you know what, we're going to get him. Because remember, he had burned the fields down in part one of the story and all that. So there was this thing going on between them. And they decided that, okay, we're going to wait for him when he leaves and we're going to kill him. So I'm thinking that brother, for some reason, knew what was going on. He suspected he probably had seen something. The Spirit of God probably revealed it to him. So he got up at midnight. And I guess they locked the gate so that, you know, they're sure to catch him. We're going to get him. It's on tonight. Whenever he comes out, we are ready for him. The gate is locked. And so he can't get away. So our Samson got up at midnight, took the gate, the posts and everything, and went with it, walked up the hill with the post and the gate. You know, now I'm pretty sure even if they had seen that, they were like, we better leave this guy alone, unless they had maybe a whole military army with them or what have you. And apparently that was not the case. However, you know, that happened and they were trying to figure, how is this guy so strong? He obviously wasn't a little puny guy, you know. Like I said, he probably looked like Shaquille, except for the locks, and or maybe a little bit bigger. So that he was in love with this woman named Delilah, and so they decided to contact her and, you know, talk to her and say, listen, at the end of the day, you're one of us. I'm putting in my 2 cents how they may have approached her, tried to encourage her to do this. Furthermore, each of us, we are going to give you 1,100 pieces of silver. Okay? I'm not sure how many of them they were, but even if there were 3 of them or 4 of them or 6 of them, we know that's a lot of silver. And so she said, okay. I guess she said, I'll ask him. And so she said to him, you say you love me, right? I say, yes, sure, I love you. So how come you wouldn't tell me where this great strength of yours lies? Your strength is inhuman. It's not ordinary. She said, and Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, I guess it's something like grass, you know, they were fresh, and you bind me with them, then I will be weak and I'll be just like a regular man. So that's what she did. She bound him up with the withs, and when she was done, this time, in the meantime, these guys were hiding in the chamber. And after she tied him up, she said to him, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And of course he like those things snap like a piece, not even thread, like if they were burnt grass. And of course, you know, he overcame them. And she said to him, of course, then I guess they got to her, this guy, he's lying to you. He's not telling you the truth. And of course she went to him, come on, Samson, why don't you tell me? You say you love me, and you know, that whole thing, and crying and carrying on. And he told her again, he said, okay, if you get a new rope and tie me, a rope that was never used, and bind me with that, then that's it. I would not be able to fight off these guys. And she bound him up with the ropes. I guess she made him fall asleep or whatever. And she bound him up with the ropes. And of course the men were lying in wait again. Same thing happened. Samson, the Philistines are on you. And he got up, and the ropes were like, oh, just threw it off and went after them. So, of course, she was like frustrated by now. And the Bible said she laid on him, and she kept crying and carrying on. I'm your wife. If you say you love me, how can... But, you know, there was another element to this story. Two that stands out. Samson was not supposed to mingle with these people in that way. And two, this woman, you know, he was disobedient to God, because these people, he wasn't even supposed to mingle with them. And the fact that every time he was bound with these ropes and wits, or whatever they call it, and he would open his eyes or wake up, and these men are attacking him. So why do you continue to do that? Anyway, the last time, 3 times he told her a different story, and you know, and she complained and cried and boo-hooed, and you don't love me, and it, you know, he couldn't take it anymore. And he said, listen, this is what it is. I have been a Nazarite from the womb, and my hair have never been cut. My strength lies in my hair. Now, if all of my hair is shaved, I would be just like every other man. I would not be able to possess that type of strength. And so she called them. Of course, they didn't have phones in those days, but she got a hold of these Philistines, and she said, he's told me everything. This is it. Come on. In the meantime, she gave him wine, and he was not supposed to drink wine, because as a Nazarite, you do not drink wine or strong drink, not even the grapes. And so he fell asleep on her lap, and she made sure that he was lying right next to her, put his head on her lap, and after you know, she probably gave him a nice meal as well, you know, the nice meal and wine. Here, you knocked out. And she had somebody come, and they shaved his head and cut off those. He had 7 locks. 7 locks. The continuation of my story is the price of my locks. And so they cut them all off. And she said, Samson's, the Philistine, are on you. And he got up, and he said in his mind, I'm going to go after them the way I've always done. But his strength was gone. His strength was gone. And they caught him. I can assume they tied him up, and they took out his eyes. They blinded him. Oh, can you imagine? It was awful. You know, sometimes I read these stories and I just kind of picture the whole scene. I think of how he may have felt. And sometimes, you know, we make a mistake and it can cost so much. disobedience cost him his eyes. And so they took him and they made fun of him. They had him grinding. I guess maybe it was a mill. And I see in one of the the stories, a movie about Samson, but it did say that he was grinding. So I'm thinking it might have been back in the days, they had everything was manual, and maybe to grind corn or whatever it is. And they made fun of him. They had a good time. So one day they decided to have a party where they were going to be, praising their god. Dagon was their god. It was their idol. And this celebration was to give thanks to their god Dagon for allowing them to capture their enemy Samson. They were giving Dagon the praise. Dagon, you did so good for us. And they had about 5,000 of them in this house. That must have been some kind of house, And so Samson was the object of their jokes and, celebration. And look what our God did for us. Look at this man. Where's your strength now? And all that kind of stuff. You can imagine what they were saying. In the meantime, they hadn't noticed that his hair had started to grow back. And Samson, he said, Lord, he called upon his God. Because he obviously had repented. He realized the mistakes that he had made. And he called upon God. He said, give me back the strength. Just give me back my strength this once and let me die with the Philistines. Because for my eyes, because it must have been something to lose your eyes and your strength at the same time. But the reality of it is really that the strength was not in the hair of itself. The hair was the symbol of his strength. His strength was in obedience to God as a Nazirite. He was not supposed to do certain things. And the hair was not supposed to be cut. So once he divulged that secret to Delilah and they cut his hair, so, he disobeyed in so many ways. So what happened to him, it was really sad, but that's what, the wages of sin, this is what happens. There is a consequence to everything that we do, whether good or bad. We do good, the consequences, are good. We do bad, the same thing. You're hungry, you eat, the consequence, you're satisfied, and so on and so forth. Anyway, there was a lad, and while they were up there, oh my goodness, having a good time, party going on, and giving praise to Dagon, this God who had done all this for them. Oh, finally we got this guy, our troubles are over. Oh, I can imagine they were high-fiving and carrying on, and drinks galore, and whatnot. And so Samson said to the lad, he said, can you lead me to the pillars of this building? I can imagine Samson was, he was a big guy. His arms probably the length, maybe 3 feet each way or whatever. And the little guy put his hand on the pillar like he had asked him to. And I'm pretty sure Samson had told him to run. You get out of here, because he had helped him. And he called upon his God, and he shook those pillars, and the house came crashing down, and it killed Samson and all of those people, men and women, who were there having a good time and making a mock of God's chosen Samson. You do not play with God's children. Like the song said again, we fall down but we get up. He made a big mistake, but God forgave him. And he told God, said, let me die with the Philistines. This is it for me. Because I guess it was at the point where, he wanted revenge for his eyes. And it was difficult for him to live, because had he lived, he's thinking, without my eyes, what good am I? I would not be able to judge Israel. I would not be able to defend my people without that strength and without my eyes. Of course, like I said, his strength had come back. because the fact that his hair was regrowing, it shows that there was repentance. That was the evidence, and he did have his strength back when he prayed to God, and God heard him, and he was able to defeat his enemies. And like the Bible said, that he killed more at his death than he did in his during his lifetime. And Samson was able to avenge the Philistines. But let us remember that it is better to obey God, because we're the ones who suffer. When God tells us not to do something, it's because he loves us. It's because it's for our own good. Had Samson not gotten involved with this woman, he would not have lost his eyes, and and goes on. Same thing with the rest of us. We suffer many things in life because of disobedience. And God is not the God where like everything you do, no, we get hurt because of disobedience. We do things and the results are sometimes really terrible, sometimes catastrophic, because of disobedience. And because God gave us commandments, he gave us laws. This is what you do, this is what you don't do, because we came into this world, and that's why he called us his children, because we really don't know anything. And I'm the first, I don't know too much, and whatever little sense I have is from the word, and this is what keeps me. So let us remember to obey God. The Bible says we ought to obey God rather than men. And the time is going to come, we're going to have to make those strong decisions. Are we going to obey man, or are we going to obey God? This is something we really, really have to think about. It's getting to that point where we've got to come to the place where we stand firm in the foundation of our faith. What do you believe? Do you believe in God, or do you believe in man? Okay? And like I said, let us continue to strive. Read our Bible, pray every day, and trust God. Trust him, even though it doesn't seem to make, sometimes it doesn't make sense. But we're not supposed to know everything. If we know everything that God knows, then we're just like him. He's not better than us. And that's why he says, my ways are not your ways, and your ways are not mine. As far as the east is from the west, that's how different we are, because he is God. He is creator. Let us continue to study, pray, trust, and obey. Remember, like I said, Jesus is coming, and he's coming soon. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon with another Bible story. Keep listening. Bye.